The 4-day work week was something that worked tremendously in my favor in 2019 and gave me my most successful financial year ever. The 3-day work week really for me is just ultimate efficiency. I've only begun doing the 3-day work week since Jan 1st, 2020. And the goal really was to be able to test it till March 31st, 2020. And the result that I need for it to be successful is one, I should have worked only 3 days a week for those 12 weeks. I should have been able to achieve all the other goals that I set out for myself, doing a half Ironman, a full Ironman, working 3 days a week, and being able to make an equivalent to the amount of money that I made last year in the same quarter or greater than. These are my parameters for success. The whole concept behind it was you actually don't require 6 days or 5 days a week to be working 8 hours a day to make that amount of money that you're aspiring to make. And if you actually looked at a full-on 8-hour day, 5 days a week, there are so many pockets of time in that day which are underutilized or just wasted. This isn't time that is being productively used, and if you can try and find a way to condense all that work into fewer number of days, or if you give yourself a lesser amount of time to conduct the same activities, you're more likely going to be more efficient over there than had you spent 5 days working on it. The question then is, what would I rather be doing in that time? Coupled with that mindset came the question, who do you want to be a hero to? And I realized I wanted to show up with a check for a specific group of people that I enjoyed working with, who I thought I could even invite home for a meal with my family and to meet their family. This has become one of my biggest disclaimers or qualifiers or even disqualifiers to land new clientele today. If I can't invite you home for a meal, then it's unlikely we will be doing any form of business. So going back to the 3-day work week, who do you want to be a hero to? I put this together and I realized that I want to work with a set group of individuals for a certain number of hours a day to get to my required outcome and be able to deliver to them the best possible proposition. Can I work with a larger number of people, more number of hours a day? Absolutely. Will I be able to justify or be able to actually deliver my best in all those hours? Highly unlikely. So what I'm trying to do is find a good balance of working with the kind of people that I attract most and being able to deliver to them as much as possible in a short span of time. So the question really is, how much of time do I really need to deliver that proposition to the right people? Everything else around it is white noise. So I think what's working for me today is the days are broken up into focus, buffer, and free days. My focus days are compartmentalized as money-making activities only. I allow myself 2 days a week for this. I have a buffer day, and those are the days that I call mess days. I use those days to clean up any messes that may have occurred, to sit down with the team, to delegate properly, undergo any forms of training, any distributor meetings, and anything that's not related directly to making money. And then I have those free days. And those free days are as important to me as the focus or buffer days are. The free days are basically what allows me to focus on the goals which I've set, which are non-business. The accomplishment of those goals is a huge factor in the success of my 3-day work week, working out. The challenge is trying to find a balance between work, family, and the extra number of hours required today to train for Ironman. This roughly would bring in my training to about 19 to 22 hours a week, maybe even more. What's also working for the 3-day work week for me right now is my 4 a.m. wake-ups. I managed to get this right 3 or 4 days of the week. It is usually the 3 days of the week that I'm working, and one extra day, which is usually a Friday, and that's the day I tend to have a long bike ride in. The obvious biggest challenge over there is the limited amount of time that's available for work. If I can wrap my head around that, I now have to convince my team to wrap their head around the fact that they can only access me in those 3 days in those time zones. I've now given myself a very limited amount of time to work with my team and make sure that our systems, our processes, their queries are all handled entirely. And I may not have given myself the right amount of time, discipline, and processes put in place to help me with that. The second thing to consider is the 3 days that I have as work days may not necessarily sync in with somebody else's concept of time. While the 3 days are always adhered to, it's the 4th and the 5th day for me, which today on a trial basis is a Sunday and a Thursday, which gives me a 4-day weekend. That would be a difficult one right now, because trying to convince a client, a product provider, a partner, that I'm unavailable on what seems to be a normal working day for everybody else because I have decided to embark on a 3-day work week or I have a 6-hour bike ride is a difficult one.